How to play the Slav Defense. Are you curious about how to play the Slav Defense? This opening is a fantastic choice for black when facing the Queen's Gambit. It starts with the moves 1, pawn to d4, pawn to d5, 2, pawn to c4, and pawn to c6. By playing c6, black supports the central d5 pawn, aiming to keep a strong and flexible center. This setup allows the light-squared bishop to develop freely, unlike in the Queen's Gambit declined, where it can often be blocked by the pawn on e6. The main goal for black in the Slav defense is to control the center, especially the important e for square, without rushing to capture white's pawn on c4. The move c6 not only supports d5 but also prepares for solid piece development. The light-squared bishop can be developed actively to squares like f5 or g4, which is a key advantage here. A typical move sequence in the main line goes like this. 1. Pawn to d4, pawn to d5, 2. Pawn to c4, pawn to c6, 3. Knight to f3, knight to f6. For knight to c3, pawn takes c4, 5. Pawn to a4, bishop to f5, 6. Pawn to e3, pawn to e6, and 7. Bishop takes c4. In this sequence, black captures the c4 pawn temporarily while supporting it with the bishop on f5. This allows for harmonious piece development and prepares to castle kingside. Strategically, black builds a solid pawn chain with pawns on c6 and d5, controlling central squares effectively. The light-squared bishop is more active compared to other defenses since it is not blocked by pawns. It is important for black to develop knights to natural squares like f6 and d7, and to castle early for king safety. However, players should be cautious of the b7 pawn, which can become a target in some lines. Often, black delays playing the move e6 to keep the bishop active but may choose to play it later to solidify the center. The Slav defense typically leads to closed or semi-closed positions, requiring strategic maneuvering instead of immediate tactical battles. This opening is suitable for players of all levels, from beginners to advanced competitors, due to its solid and logical nature. It is a reliable choice against the Queen's Gambit and is frequently seen in high-level play. Understanding typical pawn structures and piece placements is more important than memorizing long sequences of moves. Players should focus on rapid and harmonious development, fighting for central control, and ensuring the king's safety. Being aware of common tactical themes, such as pressure on the b7 pawn and the timing of pawn breaks like c5, is also beneficial. To play the Slav defense effectively, start with pawn to d5 and pawn to c6, develop knights to f6 and d7, actively position the light-squared bishop, castle early, and maintain a strong pawn center. This opening balances solidity with dynamic potential, making it a popular choice against pawn to d4.